Hello and welcome to Brilliance Today, where individuals let their brilliance shine through their stories, expertise and philosophy, because they're on a mission to make a difference and leave a legacy. Introducing Brenda Dempsey, publisher, speaker and TV presenter. Get ready to be inspired.
Hello and welcome to Brilliance Today podcast, where I've got the amazing Julie Miles Lewis, who has published her second book. And I'm not going to say anything more about Julie because I want Julie to introduce herself to you. Julie, over to you. Tell us about the book, who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Julie Lewis. I am a pioneer rebel with a cause, and that cause is to empower more people to be the most amazing, resilient, healthiest version of themselves so that they can succeed during challenges and change. And I do that through keynote speaking, running masterclasses, retreats and expeditions around the globe, using nature as the backdrop, really. And I'm super excited to have published my second book, Uncharted Waters, through Brilliant Book Publishing, as a metaphorical journey through water in terms of the life and business lessons we can learn from the element of water.
Absolutely. And it's been such an exciting time because I've just returned from attending that book launch with you out in the Abu Dhabi book fair. So what's your takeaway from launching at a book fair? Because I know there's going to be amazing women and men listening to this, so might give them an idea of what it's like to launch a book in such a brilliant stage.
I think it's really important to act strategically once you have your book and look at what's on the ground in where you live regionally and then internationally. So it was very lucky that the Abu Dhabi International Book Fair timed perfectly, because there's obviously the Sharjah Book Fair, there's the Emirates Literature Festival, and I think it's important to just get in wherever you can to get that market exposure and to mix and mingle with other authors, with journalists, with the media there, to be seen to be having a presence, really. I think that's so important, to make new connections and then obviously share pictures and share stories. So it was great that you could be there with me as well, so that you got an overview. I mean, it was a huge book fair. And I think, once you've attended one, you can kind of build up so that you can be a speaker or on a panel next time, and then kind of leverage those connections that you make all under one roof. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you used a word there that's really becoming part of my vocabulary, and that is leverage. And when you're doing great work, you have to build on that. So then you're leveraging. And what that does is amplify that authority. It gives you more credibility, and you're beginning to mix in those circles where there's experts who are seen as the gurus in their field. And I know with your experience, I would class you as one of those gurus so much, Julie. So let's talk a little bit about leadership at the moment. So you've already mentioned that you take people on expeditions, and you've gone from the North to the South Pole of this wonderful home of ours that we call Earth. Tell me how that experience has shaped you as a leader.
I think the more experiences we can have, the more resilient, the more a better leader we are, because we've got a frame of reference. When you put yourself in extreme, unusual, unpredictable environments, it really is a test of your real-time resilience and your leadership skills in terms of how you respond. I'm not going to say the word react, it's how you respond. And so it's really that level of self-awareness of yourself, of others, and the environment that you find yourself in. So that could be the business environment, it could be the relationship, it could be the health, it could be the great outdoors. So I think as a leader, Leading by example is one thing, and creating more leaders, not more followers. So to actually give people opportunities to challenge themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually in unusual environments, out of their comfort home or the comfort of the office, to really see what they're made of, basically, and then learn and grow from that. You know, what do you do when you're cold, tired, and hungry? What do you do when you can't take that path? What do you do when, you know, the weather changes? So this is like real-time leadership, and then you can transfer it back, of course, back to the workplace, back to your home life, back to your relationships, because you've got a frame of reference from those experiences. So I think for any woman in leadership, it's put your hand up and say yes, you know, for those experiences that will grow and stretch you. Even if you don't think you're quite ready, just say yes. I think that's really what I've learned over the last 22 years, leading 70 expeditions, as you said, from the top of the earth, the Arctic, to the bottom of the earth, Antarctica, and everywhere in between. You know, it's just like going to university for a week. New culture, new habits, new environment, new everything. And it's like a multi-sensory overload. And it really, you learn more about yourself in that week than I think you could do in a month in school. That's my opinion.
Well, I think it's a wee bit more in your opinion. That's experience and expertise speaking there, Julie, for sure. But you said something and I love it. And here we are, we're going to leverage right here now, live. This is how you leverage. So you says just say yes, just like the great Richard Branson. Richard Branson's famous quote is say yes and then figure out how later. And I remember I did that once myself. I said yes to somebody. I thought, when am I going to get the money from to pay for this big yes? And you know what? It just seemed to happen. I think when you align yourself with the universe, your purpose, then the things just seem to fall into place. So there we go. Putting you up there beside the great Sir Richard Branson, Julie. Dame Julie. So not too distant future, I think. So in terms of, so we've talked about leadership and you've talked about resilience, but in your experience and as a witness, working with all these other men and women who come from all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of positions in life, what would you say is, let's go for 3, because it's my favorite number. What would you say are the 3 most common transformation in those journeys?
I think an heightened sense of self-awareness in terms of who am I, you know, and finding out your strengths, being led by your values. That's how you choose to do certain things, you know, how you're managing your emotions. So I think that heightened self-awareness of who you are, what you're doing, and who are you doing it with, really, because, you know, we're a product of our environment. So if you put yourself in good environments, growth, learning environments, is very different from being in a toxic, closed mindset environment. So I think it's very much a heightened self-awareness. It's an open mindset in terms of being open to new experiences, and then the growth and transformation that comes from that in terms of, if I can do this, I can do anything, you know. It's how can I, you know, from leadership, from keynotes, from everything I run, it's, you know, it's all about trust. It's about communication. It's about risk. It's about decision making. It's about perseverance, faith, communication, collaboration, all of these in the bag, in the mix. That you can apply in your business, your life, your health, your relationships, travel, absolutely all areas of your life. So they're very transferable skills. I think this is the key thing, that they're transferable and you can apply them. You know, you don't just go and learn something and say, oh, I know that now. It's like, I know this, now I'm going to go and apply it. I'm going to wire in this new habit of doing this, you know, every day. You know, follow-up calls, exercising, making sure I'm sleeping, making sure I'm eating well, making sure I'm connecting with people that lift me up and don't say, what do you want to do that for? You know, it's really, really important to have this ecosystem around you of support.
I love that. And that's the word that is continuously coming up for me just now, an ecosystem. And I suppose what both of us do as female leaders is we create these ecosystems where other people can thrive, and they can, in my terms, you know, shine and be brilliant, you know, and in your terms, they can flow like water.
Water.
There you
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, but what I'm hearing is it's the traits people find out about themselves and the traits. So, in leadership, do you see a difference between female leaders and male leaders? And if so, what is it? What are the similarities and what are those differences?
That's an incredible question, you know, because I've seen so many people. I've seen women that are very in their masculine energy, and I've seen men in their feminine energy. So, you know, in terms of their compassion, their empathy, you know, some of the new leadership traits, because we all know that the command and control, the old models are falling away. So I think, you know, in terms of the yin and yang, the masculine, feminine, it doesn't really matter whether you're male or female. It's if you want to really do something and it aligns with your values and your strengths and your priorities, then you will do it whether you're male or female. I think it's a massive generalization perhaps, but I think women are more intuitive, maybe listen a little bit more and try to understand more before kind of more Socratic in their decision-making process. So getting everybody's feedback, still knowing that they need to make the decision. Whereas sometimes men might just want to just go in and fix it and not ask, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? It's just like, no, I just got to fix this. So I think it's that, you know, the left brain and the right brain, the analytical, logical, rational, and the creative, intuitive, receptive. And it's the merging of the two, really, you know, whole brain thinking. Because if you're too far in your left, too much in your left mind, then it's no fun, you know. And if you're not having fun, then it's pretty serious for me. It's like, am I having fun? Yes, great. So I think there's some very distinct differences, but, you know, rather than kind of is to embrace those differences as opposed to us and them. It's saying, these are my strengths, these are your strengths. When we combine them, that's when the magic happens. You know, to stand in your authentic self instead of trying to be more like a man or a man trying to be more like a woman. It's like, be more like yourself and what sits right with you, because we all know that when you're aligned with your values and your passion and your purpose and your mission, that's when the magic happens. It's when you're trying to be somebody else or comparing yourself to somebody else, that's when things don't really work.
Comparison's a thief of joy, as you know, the saying goes. What you're saying, I find it all very interesting. And as I was listening to you, you know, it came to mind that actually we all, whether you're male or female, we all need to intertwine both left hand and right hand brain, feminine and masculine characteristics, because sometimes we need that order and organization and that left hand brain thinking, analytical, but then we need to be able to flow over to the right, you know. I'm thinking my brain gym here. And you can be more creative, intuitive, you know, innovative. And I think what's happening, I know that I'm seeing it, and I'm sure you're seeing it too, that flow is happening more. And, you know, we want more in the business world too. So let's talk about Voices of Women.
Yes.
Because Voices of Women is all about female leadership. And as you said, it's more about a communion of male and female, but still there is something quite unique about a group of, I call it value aligned, Julie, rather than, I used to call it like-minded, but now I've come to understand it's more value aligned. You've talked a lot about values, and you know, we both begin with values, and as you said, values drive you and help you make decisions. So therefore, when you with value aligned people, and in our case for Voice of Women, there is something quite magical, because I've not seen in our 22 women not one bit of competition, only support and people wanting to get together to improve where they're at and leverage each other's tribes and skill set. So when you hear that term voice of women, what conjures up in your mind?
I think it's an incredible way to amplify the voice of women, to encourage more women, whether they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s. You know, these different decades, these rites of passage, to step up, to show up, to speak up, and to learn from this diverse background and experiences, different ages, different nationalities, different professional backgrounds, and there'll be some common threads in terms of the lessons along the way. I experienced this. Oh, that resonates with me. I'm experiencing that now. How did you deal with it? And this is how I dealt with it. So I think the collaboration and this creating this ecosystem again of women that support other women. That what is it? A rising tide, lifts all the boats. Take somebody up in the elevator with you. So I think it's also that, and also I kind of put these kind of arms, like supportive connection, to protect and to take somebody's hand and say, I'll walk with you, and then you let their hand go because now that they're going on their journey. So it's really those rites of passage, for want of a better word, or the shero's journey, leaving, the comfort of everything, like moving to a new country, starting a new job, going to work in what's predominantly known as a male dominated world, but finding other women within that world that have experienced that and created new rules, regulations, legislation to enhance that journey basically through that. So I think it's very, very important that it's a resource and an anchor for other women wherever they are on their journey, to know that supporting each other is paramount.
And that phrase that we all say, you're not alone, and when great people come together and they start talking, they soon realize that they're facing the same issues, struggles, successes, and and that is quite reassuring, because sometimes you think, oh, what's up with me? Though there's nothing up with you, it's just part of the journey. It's a process that we're going through. So Julie, you live in the Middle East, you live in well, not Dubai, it's Ras Al Khaimah, and tell me how you see leadership emerging in that region.
Yeah, I've lived in this region for 26 years, which is more than a third of my life. I actually joke that I'm an Emirita. I can't say I'm an Emirati. I'm an Emirita. I've lived in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and more recently now Ras Al Khaimah. I moved to the Slow Coast to work on the book, and I go into Dubai and Abu Dhabi for work. And I have seen a huge transformation. I mean, women, I think, have always played an extremely important role. And the perception from outside is that they don't. But believe me, they do. The hierarchy, the matriarchy is very, very, woman is very, very strong here. And there are more and more grants, awards, foundations, programs, initiatives, campaigns to really, really ramp that up. You see so much here in terms of leadership summits, programs that really fast forward women in, business councils, women in business, American women in business, British business. It's incredible, and I've never felt as a woman here that what's the word? I've always felt supported. I've never felt that it's been difficult. In fact, I found it easier in some cases, to be honest with you. And, the volume of now of Emirati women, as in Saudi women, that, have got incredible university degrees that are now putting them to practice. They're setting up, leadership training programs for women in STEMs, and it's just incredible. So do I think the Middle East is a great place to be as a woman? Yes.
Well, we know about that. We've got lots of plans that we can do another podcast on
Mm,
at another
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Because I think, oh, I feel quite emotional. But I think when a woman is totally connected to her true self, she's authentic, then she's unstoppable and she's fearless. And I know for sure that, Julie, you are unstoppable. You are fearless. And boy, the sky's the limit. Beyond the sky, amongst the stars and the galaxies, is um carved out in written in stars. Julie Miles Lewis for sure. So let's just kind of round up a little bit here then. So what do you want to see happen with the voices of women? What is your vision for voices of women?
That it's a positive anchor, a resource that keeps giving and giving and giving, that impact has a ripple effect globally, because I know the women are coming from different areas. So it's a real solid resource that keeps giving,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Absolutely. And those ripples just keep rippling,
Yes.
rippling, rippling. Ripples of brilliance is what I call it. And I know you're going to be my shining star and ripple of brilliance out in the Middle East. And certainly there's a lot more to come. We've just begun, for sure. I know you've got 26 years ahead of me in the Middle East, but anyway, the foot's in the door, and already we are leveraging and building. So thanks very much, Julie. Thanks for being a voice of women. Thanks for saying yes. And by the way, why did you say yes to being in Voices of Women?
I think it's important, to share the highs, the lows, the plateaus, the ins and the outs. As a woman in business, as a female expatriate in the Middle East, because even just saying that, people say, "Oh my gosh, what it's like working there, and how did you adapt and adjust?" And I think it's selfish not to share
Exactly.
all these lessons and journeys. The highs and the lows and everything else in between.
Yeah.
um it's important, so that other people think I'm not alone. It's not just me. When somebody says no, or you're not getting where you want to go, it's just persevere, persevere, persevere. And
Mm.
find your role models, find your mentors, dig deep, and just keep saying yes, and this too shall pass, the whole.
Exactly.
So I
Nothing
think
lasts forever.
exactly. So I think it's important to share
Mm.
the lessons and the knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I'm supposed to be wrapping up here, but something's just come to mind, and I think it's important that we say this actually, Julie.
Mm.
Um, so let's go back to the launch of your book at the Abu Dhabi Book Fair. And I actually think, oh, I feel quite emotional, Julie, again. I actually think that we have a voice, and I think we have to share what's happening, because at that book launch, it was a male journalist who was our guiding light, who was our angel, who was whatever word you want to use. And actually he brought more men to your book signing,
Yes.
and I never found one of those men who were a bit long in the tooth, shall we say. They weren't like 25 or 35.
Mm.
And not once did I feel one of those men look down on us as
No.
women, who thought, well, there was none of that. In fact, I felt uplifted and empowered by their support. I don't know what you want to say about that. Sorry that I never picked up it earlier, Julie, but I think it's
Yeah.
important that we say this.
Yeah, I think that's super important, that authors, journalists, people that love poetry and reading and learning, right, support each other, and, we turned up there. Maybe nobody's going to show up. You never know with those things. And then Nabil, the guy that came along,
Yeah,
and he's a journalist, he had a book. We traded books. This is totally in Arabic, so I'm going to have fun reading that one. But it was that just giving, and then he walked off, and then he came back with people, and people bring people. And so I think that was beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah.
What got me was he didn't look for anything in return. And
No.
yet we know we'll be able to reach out to these men and they'll support your work. They will support our work. And do you know what? My heart's singing and my soul was dancing. I thought, wow, why would you not want to be in the Middle East? Why would you not want to be in the Emirates for sure? That's all I'll say about that one. But anyway, listen.
Come to the UAE, Habibi. That's
exactly,
what they say. Come to the UAE, Habibi. Like Habibi,
yeah,
like
Habibi.
my love, my darling, Habibi.
I know, Habibi. I know. So anyway, Julie, it's fantastic. I know you'll be back again. There's lots more we've got to talk about. Not even touched the tip of the iceberg. Never mind, get below it. But congratulations, Julie. Thank you for being a voice of women. And thank you for being an awesome, remarkable woman, a shining star. I call you a scintillating star, a galaxy of light for others. And so everybody else, find out more about Julie Lewis. How can they get in touch with you, Julie?
Through website www.julie-lewis.com, LinkedIn, Instagram, Julie Miles Lewis. I'm everywhere.
Yeah, she's ubiquitous, as I say. Ubiquitous. So everybody else, thank you very much for tuning in to this Brilliance Today podcast. I'm sure you'll agree with me. Julie is just such a bundle of fun, bundle of energy, and I know she's an action woman, so there'll be lots more coming from Julie. But until the next time, this is Brenda saying, be brilliant and much love. Until next time, to the pip.
That's it for this episode of Brilliance Today. Thank you so much for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. For more information or to contact Book Brilliance Publishing, visit bookbrilliancepublishing.com. And remember, do different. Be brilliant.